Chanting Chasik.
Yeah. Oh, don't tell it to Charents.
I like Charents very much. I speak with him in my poems. I think he is the biggest Armenian poet.
All right, we're rocking. I can feel the energy.
Today, we're visiting the Charents House Museum, located at number 17 Mashdot Street in downtown Yerevan. It's one of 27 house museums in the Republic of Armenia, each one dedicated to a great writer or artist. As you can tell as we walk around, it's made up of small, cozy rooms that give you a completely different feel from a typical museum. So Charents was rather unique. He was a man who first welcomed Bolshevism, but then openly derided its leaders and writing. A poet forced to renounce cosmopolitan futurism in order to become a poet of Armenian nationalism. And he was a family man whose flirtation with marginal lifestyles would have made even Oscar Wilde blush. Yeghishe Charents was born in 1897 in Kars, the scion of wealthy carpet dealers from Persia. And as was sometimes the custom with writers at the time, when he was still a teenager, he adopted the pseudonym Charents, possibly derived from the Armenian word char, for bad or naughty. And in a sense, Charents really was the original Armenian bad boy, breaking linguistic and societal norms at will. The Charents House Museum serves as both a research center on the artist's complex life and as a repository for all things Charents. As you can see, items in his study are arranged as they were during the writer's lifetime, while the living room possesses a slightly old European grandeur. It contains an elegant piano, alabaster statues, and delicate reproductions of Asian art, all gifted to the poet and to the museum. In fact, Charents most admired all things Eastern, including Buddhism. He was multicultural way ahead of his time.
Study, and then now I'm going to get into Charents' favorite pose, because he was a big fan of Buddhism and yoga, and I'm very bad at this. But if I just sit like this, I can channel Charents, I think. Yes, yes, I can feel Yeghishe Charents. He's coming into my body, yes.
The poet's conflicted personality was reflected in rhetorical devices used. You can see this in simple repetition of the colors blue and red in one of his most famous poems. Here, blue symbolizes a nostalgia for his homeland and a yearning for peace. Red, on the other hand, substitutes for his fiery devotion to Bolshevism and early Soviet Armenia. The museum also contains over 2,000 books that managed to escape destruction by Soviet authorities during the purges of the 1930s. There are also lovely handwritten letters that Charents exchanged with his many friends throughout the Soviet Union. And this item here has a unique story behind it. You see, Charents was so beloved that a nurse working in a hospital he stayed in even saved the door to his room so as to remember him after he was gone. Charents the wordsmith remains popular today, as evidenced by an Armenian rock band, the Dinjis, who deftly capture Charents' whimsical bad boy nature in their contemporary interpretation of his poem Vachchuin, or Greetings. I love another more classical take on Charents, sung by Gor Sushchan's Project LA 2018, and a more classical music vocabulary in Ov Garantibi, Whom Shall I Meet? Like many Armenians of his era, the young poet was forever marked by the events that took place during the Armenian genocide of 1915. An ardent communist in his youth, he soon became known as an anti-Soviet Armenian nationalist who wrote poems such as this 1920 beauty. 20 years after Charents' death in 1957, in a hilly village of Voghshaberd, overlooking Mount Ararat, an arch was built in his memory.
You walk all over the world, you will not see something like Ararat.
Right.
And I like my Mount Masses like the road to the way to glory.
Right.
Come along with me as I visit the arch with poet Marine Petrosyan, whose work has been strongly influenced by Charents.
Charents-ին չասեք, բայց ես կարոտում եմ այն ժամանակները, երբ բանաստեղծին կարող էին սպանել իր գրածի համար։ Հա, կարոտում եմ։
Charents originally sang the praises of the Bolshevik Revolution in poems such as A Prescient for Crowds Are Mad, only to become deeply disillusioned with its leaders. People living in the Soviet Union at the time had to keep any controversial opinions private, and Charents was no exception. Unfortunately, he liked to speak his mind, as in the following unpublished verses, which eventually cost him his life.
He has many periods. When you say Charents, at first he starts as a lyric, then he becomes a kind of national dream poet about writing national dream. Then he goes to fight in Western Armenia. Then he saw this huge disaster. Then he becomes a revolutionary poet, Bolshevik. Then and all. So he has kind of, I don't know, 7 or 8 periods, Charents periods,
Right.
and every period kind of rejects the previous one.
Thankfully, Charents' longtime friend, the painter Yeghishe Charents, hid many of his poems in a garden right behind her house, also risking her own life in the process. This act of bravery safeguarded priceless poems and manuscripts from certain destruction.
17 տարի Ռեգինա Ղազարյանը Չարենցի չտպագրված սեռագրերը պահել է տակառում հողի տակ եւ հետագայում 17 տարվա դադարից հետո 54 թվականին կարողանում է սեռագրերով լի տակառը դուրս հանել.
Ղազարյան then donated all the texts to the Charents House Museum. And so here, in downtown Yerevan, we have the equivalent of Armenian samizdat, a term used to describe the forbidden unpublished works of hundreds of Soviet writers. Conflict and turmoil extended to the poet's private life as well. Though Charents loved women and married twice, he also lustfully sang the praises of young men in poems such as erotic song. Late in life, he also developed a predilection for morphine. Charents was arrested and most probably murdered by the Soviet secret police during the Great Purge of the 1930s on trumped-up charges of counter-revolutionary and nationalist activity. Charents' incandescent poetry and its effect on Armenian culture remain unmatched. He is, to Armenians, what Vladimir Mayakovsky is to Russians, or perhaps W.H. Auden to the English. So come celebrate Charents' life at this wonderful house museum, a memorial to a brilliant man tormented by life's many contradictions, a man who is always at odds with both himself and society, a walking paradox who grabbed life by the collar and never let go.